Hey, my beauties. How is everyone today? Very, very excited. I was just sharing a conversation with someone just before I came on live, and I was saying how excited I was to be sharing this part, wealthy. Yeah, so we talked about happy, healthy, and wealthy is today's topic. And I'm super, super excited about that. So for any of you who are attending this live or are watching this, I have done 3 parts on fulfilled and successful life. And those 3 parts, those 3 pillars, according to the experience I've had so far, and some of the people that I have learned from, some of the top people in the world that I learned from, are actually coming down to 3 top things, 3 pillars that support this amazing life. And those are happiness, health, and wealth. And I am exploring these topics in this very short series that I just decided to do. And I was very, very excited when I woke up one day and said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a series on happy, healthy, wealthy. And so watch Happy and Healthy, because I did that in the last couple of days. And today is all about wealth. So people think wealth and they associate it with what? Money, right? Not frogs. Money. And so it's funny because I'm sorry, I'm just getting the what do you call it? The silly, the silliness. My kids get that often, especially when I'm like, let's be serious now. So anyway, so many people associate wealth with money, and that's not wrong, of course, but wealth is so much more than riches. Okay, so people talk about wealth and they straight away think like Richie Rich or some people like rich and famous people they see on the internet, someone with like a gold chain and a nice car and a beautiful house with a pool and stuff and all this. And that's great, and that might be part of it, but wealth is so much more. Wealth is actually, I love this word because it's this, like, it has this, like, this clout to it. It's like wealth, this, I don't know, this abundance, this, like, this richness of something. That's how the word sounds, right? It's amazing. So anyway, so what's wealth? And I want to pick a few things today, and so I'm just gonna kind of outline them there so I don't forget. And if I do, I can always go back and comment on them. So I want to talk about what creates wealth and what is, how do we create wealth? Because most people want to build wealth, but they think about the money side of things as opposed, like, and they go, if I have the money, I will now do X, Y, and Z. If I have, or when I have this, I'm going to be able to do whatever. And yes, without it, there are many things that are more difficult to obtain, or may take a bit of a different route if we're not used to it. If we think that I make money, that money buys me something, then I have it, right? If this is the flow. But it doesn't work like that. It actually works in a very different way. It works the opposite. So you go and you say within, this is already mine because I desired it, I dreamt it, I wanted it, it's already mine, right? And then universe starts to align. That doesn't mean you sit there like this and you wait for something to drop on your hands. No, that means that once you set that goal and you firmly just feel it, the high vibration that is surrounding you is giving you the most amazing high frequency ideas that you suddenly have that you wouldn't have from a different point of view. I'm going to give you an example that might sound really ridiculous and disconnected from this, but there was a story about like an 80-something-year-old woman who was very frail, and her son came by and he was fixing something. He had the car up on the, you know what I mean, like the thing that you jack up the car on so it can like raise up, and he was fixing something underneath, and then suddenly this thing broke and the car dropped on him and it was starting to crush him. And she saw that through a window and she went up, ran up and raised the car, and he escaped. He, rolled over. 80-something-year-old grandma. She was not a heavy lifter or anything like that. She was like just a regular grandma. because she had this like sudden burst, right? It was adrenaline, you call it, but it was like a sudden burst. Like, I have to do this. That was an intuition. That was something that told her. And suddenly, without explanation, she did it. And then obviously after things happen, people often try to explain, why did that happen? How did that possibly happen? How can we apply science to all of that? Great. They want to do that because they want to be able to tell people to replicate what they've done. But the truth is, you won't replicate something dry, right? So you're not going to be able to replicate something unless you have everything that it takes to replicate it. So it's not just knowing, it's not knowing how someone did something, it's knowing what was the motivation, the cause for doing that, what was bubbling under the surface for them to let them know. So we see the iceberg concept, for example. The iceberg has majority of it underneath the water, and then there's just a really tiny bit above the water. It's the same with anything else, right? Our potential, our desires, our anything. Action is just that little part, and knowing how is just that very, very small proportion. Everything else is underneath. Everything else is the emotion, the thinking, what we have going on under the surface. Okay, and so with all these stories, what I want to say is that, you know, people talk about building wealth and then doing what they want, or building, making money and then doing what they want. The truth is, and I've been there, you can make money and you can lose it all. Been there, done that. Not great, but it actually takes you to another level, and it helps you really assess things, and it also helps you see what you can do and how you can do things. And it tells you that you are not bulletproof from the outside, but you are from the inside. So that's one thing. No matter how much you make, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. That's very, very important. That's a big, big, big difference, right? Because think about this. Someone is making 100,000 a year, and someone else is making 1 million. Who has more? Well, it's hard to say because you don't know what the expenses are, right? Just because you make something, that doesn't mean that you are left with that at the end of the year. So for example, maybe that person who makes 100,000, they only spend 50,000. And the person who makes 1 million, maybe they spend 999,999, right? Or actually more, because they take lots of loans and consumer credit. So the person who is making more isn't necessarily keeping more. So it's not about that. It's about, obviously making more is great, but you want to keep more. So you learn to keep more, and then you can learn to make more, because otherwise you're making a lot and you're not really keeping it. I mean, you can do it the other way too, but who cares? You know, it doesn't work. So wealth is different than making money, right? That's one. Wealth building is also about having that freedom, knowing that what you want, what you desire, and what you want for your life is as like a vision of, you know, how you want to live, because we all have that. We all have like a visual of, or like a list of this. These are the things I want to do, have, be, give others, all of that. So in order to do that, you've got to find a way to not just make a lot, but keep a lot of it, right? If you keep a lot, then you can do a lot more with that. So going back to that and the story, you know, if you learn to go from not if I have, then I make, then I can do what I want with it. Instead, you go, okay, what I want is already mine. Guess what? You start coming up with ideas on how to take action on the things that you want to have, and then those things will become yours. But you have to go within. And everything that we want, like all the material stuff, whether it's material physical stuff or the stuff that we want to do, that's associated with a feeling and emotion. So for example, I talked about it before. You want the car? What emotion is this giving you? Does it feel like accomplishment? Does it feel like achievement? Does it feel like you're going to have this rush of freedom when you're driving it? Maybe it's an open top. Maybe it's like, oh my God, it's amazing, right? So you might have that feeling where you're like, yeah, this feels like freedom. Okay, I'll tell you what, that's amazing that you want that car. And I wish you have that car. And I know you will. And meanwhile, while you're you know, up here working towards it, and I don't mean working, I just mean, you know, things are happening towards it, Why don't you find a feeling of freedom in other everyday stuff? Because when you do, you are getting closer to the thing you want. So you might want to travel. You might want to go and travel the world, for example. What is that giving you? Is that giving you a sense of variety? Find variety in everyday life, right? And then that thing will also happen, will also appear in your everyday experience. But I don't just want to talk about making money, because wealth is not just that. It's actually not. And it's funny because we make more when we don't focus on this. Weird, right? So it all starts with passion, right? So passion, like, think about this. What do you love doing? What could you do no matter how much money you would make? Like, if the money didn't matter, what would you love to do? If you had every day $1 billion of your currency available to you, and you were going to just be able to do whatever you want with it. If you had every day, there is a magic cash box and it gives you that, what would you actually do? And you might say, I would go and travel the world. I would go away and do this. I would do nothing for a week. I would just sleep. Maybe you would say that you would, I don't know, help people, maybe whatever, right? Whatever it is. Imagine this, when you're done with that, because eventually you will be done with something. What do you want to do then? Because it might be, I want to rest, I want to go on holiday, I want to do whatever. If these are all these things, that might be because you haven't had that in a long time, so you want it. But imagine you've done all this. What is it that you want to keep doing? Right? It might be you want to keep vacationing. Great, fantastic. Maybe there's something else you can do with it. But find that passion, because this is the true passion. Something you would do if you had all the money you wanted to, but also if you had, if that was not an issue. So what do you want to do? Okay, what do you want to do? Well, it might be that you love traveling, okay? And great, well, do that with passion, because from that you will have an idea that's born on how that might bring you more income, right? But it starts with passion. So why is it important to know? Because we have children, we have generations of kids who are growing up. Every single day there's one born, and actually more, and every single day there are more and more growing up, right? So kids are learning from us right now, at the minute in education, to just learn and do what makes money, what's interesting in the world, what the world is talking about, as opposed to, what is your passion? Find your passion. They follow a passion till about 7, and then they're told to sit, listen, and maybe take part. Now, there's a lot more experience in schools, but it's still like, experience what we want you to experience, as opposed to actually figure out what is it that excites you, what is it that you want to do, and then follow that path. Don't just learn it as a hobby, right? So it's important, because if you're following your passion, like if you're doing this, like I did these lives, right? I did them just like this. I was like, oh my God, this is what I feel like doing. This is going to be so cool. There's no agenda. There's nothing hidden. There's no like, oh my God, I'm going to like now, do a course or whatever. No, I just wanted to do it because it felt so good. So you want to follow that passion and figure out what that is. So if you're thinking, okay, well, this sounds interesting. And if you want to take this further, what you could start with is, you could start with saying, okay, just, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths in, and then just imagine yourself. You have everything. You don't have to worry about anything. There is like everything that you want and desire is out there. And then you go, okay, so what would I do every single day? And I have 100,000 years to live, right? What would you do? What would be so fun? What would be amazing? What would you do? And then go and do it. And do it even in small amounts. If you think, oh my God, but I'm busy at work, I can't do this. Find 15 minutes in the day to do it. Maybe, or find, a couple of hours once a week, or whatever. Just find some time to do it, right? And it's important to follow that passion, because with that attracts flow, that attracts money. Money is energy. Money is great energy that comes to high vibration. You're in high vibration, you attract that. Because lack of money is an illness, is a disease. It's not our natural state. And many people live in that state. And then guess what? They're sad, they're depressed, they are more ill, right? Very, very few people who have money, but in an abundant way, are sick, ill, or unwell. Excuse me, and I don't mean a cold. And many people, there are many people who have money out there, but they are not happy and not healthy because they haven't found the happiness that I talked about on day one, right? So they haven't found this key inside of them. They haven't found what clicks, and they just keep counting money and saying there's never enough for anything, even though there's plenty. But we're leaving those people out. So what I mean is, when you are in flow, because of that high energy you're in, you are attracting more, and you are attracting the flow of energy. It might be that you come up with an idea on how to capitalize on your passion, but it might be that that high vibration will attract someone suddenly paying you back a loan that you forgot they even made, right? Or it might be that suddenly you get a check from the tax office for a tax rebate or tax, return refund. I had that happen to me when I was actually in flow, and I made a very big important decision in my life, and then literally I went downstairs, and in the like through the post box there was a letter with a check in it. And I mean, come on. Right? These things happen. Then you can suddenly learn about someone, I don't know, a family member, distant family or something, who has actually left you a gift because it turned out that maybe they heard of you, or maybe they didn't, maybe whatever happened, right? Doesn't have to be a reason for someone to give you money, even though we think there has to be. So yeah, so you follow that by following your passion, and that builds your wealth. And then because you have wealth, you can also contribute. So that means you have more free time because you are building wealth. And I'll talk to you about the specifics of it as well. But you might be contributing more because you have more. So whether you contribute with more money because you are contributing already, but 10% of 100,000 is a lot less money than a 10% of a million, or 2 million, or 10 million, or 100 million, or more. And you are able to share your time, so contribute with your time as well, right? Because maybe you have more, and you have the ability to spend less time on certain things, but actually attract more with that. And that way you can give your close and near and dear ones more of your attention, more time. Contributing doesn't just mean physically giving money to someone. It might be giving your time, and time is the only resource you can't get back. Right now we haven't, it's 2024, we haven't had a time machine invented yet. So until that happens, I guess, not unless, until that happens, we will be relying on time being a finite resource, something that ends eventually. And so it's very important to use it wisely, right? When you're able to contribute because of your wealth, you also can grow more, you can help others grow, and there's just so much richness. You can add value to people's lives. You can do that now, but the more you build, the more you can add value, right? You will agree with me, right? There are people who would say, I've heard someone say, I don't need any more. And I'm like, okay, well, if you make twice as much with the same effort, and you decide that you don't need any more, well, you can give the other money that you don't need to someone who's really in need. So really, you are being selfish by not wanting more, right? Because like we have this this stigma on us. And I was just talking to someone today and yesterday actually about that. We have this stigma that we shouldn't want more. Of course we should. Why not? The more we have, the more we can give. And people are worried. They're worried that if they have more, they're gonna suddenly become someone weird. That's like an old stigma. Money doesn't change you. It makes you more of who you are. It's a magnifying glass. It's like, it goes, oh, you've been amazing. You've been doing these things. You've been contributing. You've been thinking of others. Maybe you couldn't give more because you didn't have more, but you were always finding a way. And then you have more and you can give even more, right? But you might be very stingy and not care, not share, or it's not because you're a bad person. It's because you've been taught that you worry all the time. The more you have, the more you're going to worry. The more money you have, the more you're going to be freaked out. Someone's going to take it away, right? But if you're a generous person who always attracts more, then guess what? The more you have, the more you're going to attract, right? So it's amazing. So, passion, right? That's like my main takeaway from this. Just follow that, follow your bliss. and more will always come because you are following your bliss, because you're following your passion. And there are so many other things I want to say to you. I'm almost like, right, because I'm already talking to you, don't want to change it, don't want to change the subject or kind of divert, but wealth is not about working more to make more, because there are still many people out there who think if I want to make more, I have to work extra hours, get a second job or whatever. No. How about, first of all, charging more for your time? Second of all, finding a way so that you don't have to exchange time for money, right? So, you know, a concept of passive income is very, very big. And I'm just going to boil it down to some very basics. So there are 3 ways of making money, like just simplest way to talk about it. First, you can go and work. So you exchange your time for money. Secondly, you can start a business, and that business operates without you in it. So you start a business, you set it up in such a way so you have employees, they work for you, or you set up an automated system, maybe still some employees, because you will have to have people who manage those things. And you might spend, you know, a few hours a week or month just kind of minding it. It does take time because you want to set it up properly, right? You don't want to set something crappy up. But it is something that you can set up, and then eventually it becomes even more passive. But you know what? You can take your time, or you can do it with the help of an expert, right? So you can do this because you are really passionate and you want to set this up yourself and you want to have the experience, or you can learn from someone who's already set something similar up, and then it takes you even quicker to do it. But that's the second way, sorry, to do this. And then the third way is to invest the money you have. So for example, you go to work, you make some money, you start a business with some money, or you can start it without, because you can, to start with, you know, find a, maybe it's a service or something. You can find a way to start a business without money. There are many people out there who have done that. And then that business brings you money. And some of it obviously goes for your daily expenses, your living expenses. And then some of it, a portion of it, gets obviously put into a pot. And that pot might be for different things. It might be for investments. It might be for some future amazing or current splurges of like just joy. It might be for all sorts of different things. We can talk about, you know, how you allocate that as well. That's a separate thing. But so yeah, so you go to work and make money and exchange your time for money. That means probably less flexibility, because you want to go and see your kids in school play, or you want to suddenly take off and do a weekend of hiking somewhere. That might not be as possible, or maybe it is, but then you're going to have to make up that time. So it feels like you're constantly juggling. Second, start a business, and in that business have people working for you so that they can do that, and the business doesn't rely on you being there. And then thirdly, invest the money you have. And it can be a combination of the money you earn, the money from your business, whatever. And the best thing is to combine 2 and 3 together. 2 and 3. Yay. and you create the most amazing thing, because money comes from your business, you invest it and you multiply it. You will never be wealthy, like truly wealthy, in money sense, if you are just going to work and earning money. Because the minute you stop, I don't know, you break a leg, you can't work for whatever reason, something happens, you decide to bugger off and go to, you know, Jamaica and live there forever. What happens? Right? It stops. So the only way to do it is have a business and also invest, and then that will bring you more. But wealth comes from all of these things that I talked about so far in those past few days that I shared. So it's about feeling abundant, right? Feeling that joy, feeling that abundance, feeling like you've got what you need, that everything's there. And even if it's not in the physical world, you just know it's there. And that means you're attracting it. So it's all about the vibration. It's always about the vibration. And, you know, teaching our next generation that is so important, because it's not about chasing money. It's not about exchanging anything. It's about finding a way to feel what you want, and then live in your passion, build it. It's as simple as that. And I mean, you know, it doesn't get any simpler than that. And so the other thing I want to also talk about just before I go, so last thing to share is that we have this concept of give and take. Like we've been taught, you know, if we give, we will get. If we give, we will receive. Or if we've received, that means we now have to give in exchange, right? Now that's a very, 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 very deeply rooted concept in many people's minds. And it's very, I don't want to judge anything and say positive, negative, but it's a concept that causes many people to live in lack, in poverty. Because they think they won't accept something because they think, oh, now I'm going to have to give something in return, but what if I can't? Or what if, you know, I don't want to? Or what if I don't have the energy? Or whatever. So they are stuck with what ifs, with fear, and then they don't accept something that's coming. And what happens when you don't accept? The thing goes, well, they don't want me, so I'm going somewhere else. And it happens with money, with energy, with flow, with anything. So what is there to change is to actually get yourself into the abundance energy. And if someone wants to give you something, you accept it. You say thank you. And if it's something you don't want, maybe you can pass it on to someone else. And also give gifts of joy, of smile, of love. You don't have to give physical gifts or like money or whatever. You can give gifts of your time, of a kind word, right? Without expecting anything in return. So I'm going to be nice to them, even if they're not nice to me. I'm going to do something nice for my kids today, even if they say, oh, it's a shitty surprise. Because I want to do it, not because I want them to say, oh, thank you, right? And then that way we will also not teach our kids to go, say thank you and please and whatever. Yes, it's kind and polite, of course. We want to teach our children to appreciate, but we don't want them to do that because they feel they ought to, right? And we also shouldn't do that because we feel we ought to. So, you know, this is just one of those things to remember, and it's very, very, very important concept. So let's just give when we feel like giving. Let's forget this thing that sits on our shoulder as soon as that thought comes. We're like, yeah, I want to do something kind for someone. And then something goes, yeah, but why? Like, isn't that too much? Someone's going to judge you. Or like, isn't that ridiculous? Like, what are you going to get back? Don't think about that. You feel like giving, give. Right? Give someone a present, even if it's not their birthday. And then when you know, I used to buy presents and then go, oh, I'm going to hold it for the birthday, or I'm going to hold it for Christmas. And I'm like, why? I'm holding the energy. If I've got it and I found it and I love it and it's amazing for someone, I'm just going to give it to them because it feels right, because I want to, because I don't want to be like, I'm hiding it for later. I'm just going to do it now. And so it's the same case for like anything, really. You want to, you know, do this someday, right? You find something or make something or feel like doing something for someone or with someone that you really love and care for. Just do it. Don't wait until it's birthday, Christmas, or whatever. Just do it. And then also, when it's Christmas and you don't feel like, you know, you don't find something that you really want to share with that person, other, you know, just like something physical, then don't. Like, don't feel like you have to buy. How many times you go and buy a Christmas present just because you feel like you have to? What if instead you could say, you know what, I really want to wish you an amazing time. I want to wish you the most amazing year ahead, Christmas time, whatever. Like, give an idea as Christmas, but, you know, it can be any celebration, really. What if you could just say that, I really love you, and I just wanted to say that I'm so thankful, and I just want to give you a big hug. And also, I did want to buy you something, and, you know, I want to spend some of my money on you. That might be the case, or maybe I want to do something with you. We can do something together. But you know what? I didn't have anything that I could think of that would give you joy and that would make you happy. And I do want to do it, but maybe I want to do it, like it didn't feel like that right now. Okay? But you know what? I know that when the time feels right, I know that I will give you the most amazing gift of my time, of whatever, right? And do that. Just like feel good, because we have all these things that have been built into us. Like, we have to buy Christmas presents for everyone. We don't have to. Do we want to? If we want to, let's do it. But if we don't, we're like, oh my God, well, they're gonna judge me. So who cares? They're not gonna like you. You're not gonna get something because you didn't give. Like, what is the, you know, what is the real feeling? So really get deep into this give and take energy. and just start feeling like, okay, well, you know what, I want to give something. Like, there are things that I want to do, so many beautiful things that I want to do for people who are near and dear to my heart, and some of them are right now for me very, very much out of my budget. But I know that I'm doing other little things for them as I can. And I know that when that, that pot increases for me, these are the things that I'm doing for them, or buying for them, or taking them on, and all that stuff, right? So it's very, very important to know this, because there are people, I know people who are multimillionaires and who are just not happy. And I also know people who aren't and who are not, right? And they just like hold everything together because they're scared that it's gonna go away, or they don't share because whatever, or they buy gifts with money, but there's no joy and there's no love behind them. And so just consider that, like, what, are you on that scale where you're a bit afraid? Are you just joyfully sharing? Are you sharing and then you have a bit of remorse? Or are you just sharing and then you're just happy with it? Because when you are, you're probably one of those kinds of people who receive willingly also. And you're probably living in abundance. But if you're not, if you're like scared and hoarding and then everything you spend is like shakingly, then that's probably where you need to spend some time on figuring this out. And there's plenty of things, there's plenty of tools out there and tips. And I mean, I can recommend you some amazing books or exercises and things like that too. I'm starting to feel overwhelmed because as I'm talking, I can see it's like it was the roots, and now the tree trunk is there with what I've shared. But then there are all these branches starting to grow, and in my mind I can already see all these topics that I want to cover, and some of the tips I want to give you. And I don't want to start it now because we would run out of time. I don't know if there's a limit on time on live, but if there is, we would probably run out. So anyway, I hope that was helpful, and I will be back at some point with some other things that I want to share. I'm gonna, I'm constantly coming up with new ideas and things. So if there's anything that you specifically would love to hear about, or maybe share, then please feel free to do that. But I just want to thank you for being here, for listening, watching after live, and I would love to know what what maybe light bulb moments or what thoughts have been coming through as you were listening to me. Anyway, lots of love and take care. Bye.